Can you win by going winless? To most people, this is a paradox, or a sentence that seems absurd or contradictory to itself. However, to one man, one team, and in 1 year of that man's life, that sentence isn't a paradox, but a truth, a success story. This man's name? Why, of course, it's Matt Crafton. Alright, that was pretty cool admittedly, but who is Matt Crafton? Well, Matt Crafton was born in Tulare, California. He was born to a racing family, and his father raced. So, when he was 7, he started racing go-karts. He then moved to midgets and assuming mini sprints when he was 15. But he got his first go in a real race car at the age of 20 in the pretty much now forgotten NASCAR Southwest Series, which is really only known for the times when they raced on the streets and parking lots of LA, some real F1 Las Vegas vibes right there. The footage of these races are pretty rare, so apologies, I had to work with what I had. His first season was in 1996, where he only had 3 starts at 3 different racetracks. These races were to help fill in for his father in the 46 car. In those 3 starts, Crafton impressed his father, who decided to put his son into the car for the next season in 1997. Here are the stats for his season, but we'll go ahead and skip ahead to 1998 at Cajon, where Crafton would get his first win in the Southwest Series. To say the least, he straight up dominated. Crafton went 100 for 100 in terms of laps. He led from the start of the race to the end, leaving just 6 cars on the lead lap, including himself. He even put future NASCAR Cup Series driver and champion Kurt Busch a lap down. He would end the 98 season in 7th in points, with just 3 top 5s. In 1999, he would win 1 race again, leading 59 laps, and finish the season in 5th with just 4 top 5s. At the turn of the millennia, in 2000, Crafton would improve, getting an extra win than his previous 2 seasons, 7 more top 5s, and oh yeah, he won the championship. He actually pulled a baller play in the last race by qualifying on pole, or first, leading the first 75 laps, then DNFing with differential problems, and still winning the championship by 140 points. To add on to his achievements, he went on a 7-race streak where he finished at least top 5 every race, finishing with a 57.9% chance of finishing top 5 at the end of the season. He would also make a few more starts in the NASCAR Southwest Series in the year of 2001, 2002, 05, and 06. He would collect 3 more top 5s in that time and 1 more win. But now, how about we move on to the series he's really known for, the NASCAR Truck Series. Now, Matt did make 1 start in 2000 in the NASCAR Truck Series at Auto Club, where he finished 9th, a really strong showing for his first start. However, this really didn't reflect too well in his first couple of seasons, with it taking him a whole 3 seasons until he got his first top 5 in 2004, and it took another 4 years until, well, finally in 2008, in Crafton's 8th season, for him to claim his first win at Charlotte. In 2008, he also tied for his best points finish of his career, which was 5th. He would go winless the next season in the great year of 2009, but it wasn't that bad. After all, Crafton got an unbelievable 11 top 5s and 21 top 10s in just 25 starts. He had an 84% chance every single time he started a race that he'd finish top 10. That is an unbelievable statistic. But Ron Hornaday got 15 top 5s and 6 wins, so Crafton would finish 187 points behind in 2nd. But that would be his best points finish of his career. He would go winless in 2010 and finish 4th in the points. However, in 2011 at Iowa, Crafton would once again win, but finish 8th in points at the end of the season. He finished 6th in the points in 2012 and blah blah blah. Let's just move on to 2013 now. 2013 was an important year for Crafton. He would once again win at Kansas, however, and more importantly, he would end this season on top. Yep, that's right. With 7 top 5s and 19 top 10s, Crafton would clinch the championship by just 40 points. And keep in mind, those 19 top 10s came in a season with 22 races. Crafton had an average finish at the end of the season that was 2 whole positions ahead of his competition. So to say the least, he earned this one. Finally, after 13 years in the series, Crafton was a champion. Things would only get better in 2014, with Crafton finally having his first multi-win season, by winning at Martinsville and Texas. He'd also finished with a mind-boggling 13 top 5s. That was nearly a 60% chance for Crafton to finish a race with the top 5. Obviously, he'd win the championship in 2014 and make history by being the first and so far only Truck Series driver to win 2 championships back-to-back. Crafton's insane statistics would mean he'd beat out future Cup Series drivers Ryan Blaney and Bubba Wallace by 21 and 34 points. The good fortune continued into the years following. In 2015, Crafton had one of the best seasons of his career, collecting not 1, not 2, not 3, but 6 wins, winning at Atlanta, Kansas, Texas, Kentucky, Martinsville, and Homestead. At the time of writing this, that's the most amount of wins he has collected in one season so far. Adding on to that, Crafton also had 13 top 5s and 18 top 10s. Now you'd think he would go back to back to back, making it 3 in a row. That would be fun, but he wouldn't. He finished the season in 3rd, missing out by 22 points. While yes, he did finish better and won more than his past 2 championship seasons, he also DNF'd 3 times. And the 2 drivers that beat Crafton to the title and the runner-up were more consistent at finishing good. To put this into statistics, both of the drivers that beat Crafton had better average finishes than him. Okay, moving on to 2016, by this point the modern playoff round-by-round format thing was implemented into the Truck Series. I'll talk about that a little bit later. However, once again, the good fortune continued. Crafton got to 2 wins, ironically back-to-back at Dover and Charlotte. He made it into the round of 4 and finished 2nd out of the 4 fighting for the championship. So, he finished 2nd in the points with 8 top 5s. And while this did look good on paper, the playoff format definitely helped Crafton. After all, he did get a whole 5 DNFs. Now, the next season in 2017 is a slightly more important one than the previous few, as it would be the scene of Crafton's last win before his winless streak. Oh yeah, and this also happened during the Daytona race.
Not over, keep digging.
They're crashing. Rose into Crafton.
Keep digging. Damn.
Crafton up and over.
Anyway, he did his last win of the season at Eldor and would finish the season in 4th, the last of the final 4 contenders, with only 5 top 5s. For 2018, Crafton would go winless with only 7 top 5s. He came close at Denver and Kentucky with a 2nd and a 3rd. He'd finish this year in 6th in the season standings, and would head into the next season with a 35-race winless streak. Now, finally, it is time to talk about 2019, the year Crafton would enter an elite class of driver that only one other person has achieved. Crafton kicked off his 20th season by having plenty of speed, getting a top 5 at Daytona by missing not 1, but 2 big wrecks and being just one of 9 trucks that actually finished the race. The next week at Atlanta, Crafton had decent, even maybe winning speed, but Kyle Busch was racing that weekend, so fun was not allowed. A mistake pushed him back to 14th, then he wasn't able to get back up to the front due to the race being ended early due to rain. But he quickly bounced back at Las Vegas by going from the back due to a wreck to racing all the way up to 3rd. At Martinsville, he had decent speed and was able to bring it home a solid 8th, even with a truck that looks like it had its face punched in. Texas has always been a good track for Crafton, meaning he would have an easy 5th there and snatch another 5th at Dover. He was a little off point at Kansas, getting a 6th, but was back in form for Charlotte with another 5th. When Matt made his return to Texas 2 months after the last race, he was able to survive the restarts and plenty of wrecks, to run around 10th to 15th most of the race. Crafton would take advantage of a late race restart to pull away from the field into 2nd. He finished 2nd, but that's close enough, right? Moving on to Iowa, he was running about the same as he has been all season, but was a little bit off, finishing 7th. At Gateway, it was a P9, with another truck that looked like it got its nose punched in. My hometown race at Chicagoland, Matt had a terrible start, but brought it back around a 3rd of the way through the race, and finished P8. He had an off week at Kentucky with a P13, but bounced back with 6th at Pocono. And Crafton's slightly unfortunate streak continued with an ill-timed red flag at Eldora, which put him into the middle of the pack, where he hung around for the rest of the race to finish 10th there. This continued with another 10th at Michigan. That was a result from a very poor final and restart, even though he was doing great before that. Hell, he even turned the leader on one of the other restarts. Despite these non-top 5 finishes, Crafton was still good enough to finish second in the regular season points. Speaking of points, I guess it's time for me to circle back around again and explain what the playoffs are. Alright, for those who don't know what the playoffs are, I'll do my best to make it simple, but you gotta pay attention. The top 8 from the regular season, which goes from Daytona to Michigan, the top 8 in points get scooped up and put into something called the playoffs. There are 2 rounds, consisting of 3 races each, where at the end of those 2 rounds, 2 drivers get eliminated. And then there's an additional 3rd round where the 4 remaining drivers, because 4 got eliminated, remember, simple math, easy. The remaining 4 then go to Homestead and duke it out for whoever will win the championship. First of the 4 wins the championship, second of the 4 wins runner-up. Now, hopefully, you now know what the playoffs are. If you don't, I'm sorry, you're just gonna have to be confused. Anyway, let's get back to the racing. The playoffs start at Bristol, and once again, Crafton ran decently all night, up to the top 10 and top 5, staying ahead of the trouble and most of the beating and banging that comes with going to a short track. However, on a restart with around 60 to go, Crafton lost a couple of spots on the restart, falling back to 9th, and while he was trying to make those spots back up, something happened to him and one of his playoff contenders.
This is how we have to race. Ross Chastain went to the back and he's tearing through this field right now. 52 spinning on the track.
Oh, Matt Crafton and the 52 of Friesen. A little bit of contact there possibly, but Friesen certainly getting the worst of it.
Yeah, so not one of Crafton's best moments, but if it makes it feel anybody, he wasn't the only playoff contender to spin someone that race. He would get stuck behind caution after caution after caution after an alley Decker skill issue, and would finish 7th and would be tied for 4th in the standings. The next race at Canadian Tire would go pretty uneventfully. Crafton ran well for the first half of the race, running up in the top 10, but he would get stuck on a final restart and bring it back home 11th. He would remain 4th in the playoffs, 5 points above the cutoff line going to the elimination round at Las Vegas. Now, unlike the Cup Series, only 2 drivers are getting eliminated here today, and Matt was looking comfortable and he was running up in the top 5 at the start of the race, so at this rate he would move into the next round of the playoffs, no problem. However, something happened to one of his teammates / championship competitors that would bring up much concern to Crafton.
Truck, remember he's a former smoke out of Infinger's truck.
Grant Infinger, one of our championship hopefuls, and his hopes maybe going up in smoke.
Oh, after the season he's had, he was a regular season point champion.
Grant Infinger, terrible name by the way, is one of Matt Crafton's teammates, meaning both his and Infinger's trucks were made in the same shop, and his truck just blew the motor. Hopefully it'll be okay. And it was, for 35 laps.
With his teammates, Matt Crafton, Johnny Sauter starting to, I think the 38.
The 88 and the 13 with problems.
You have to be kidding me.
Oh my goodness.
Unbelievable. 3 of the 4 trucks that were made by Crafton's team went up in smoke, let alone the 3 that were in the playoffs. Alright, calm down, it's okay. Crafton is 10 points above the cutoff line, and there's 2 drivers between him and the cutoff line, so it's okay. But that's at lap 30. What about at the end? Well, when everything was said and done and Austin Hill had been crowned the winner, Crafton was into the next round. I can't believe it. Now, because of those DNFs, he'd be the lone wolf carrying the torch for his team into the next round of the playoffs at... Oh boy. Crafton was 3 points below the cut line going into this absolute wildcard of a race. For the first 2/3 of the race, Crafton ran up front or hung around the lead pack, more or less in the back or the middle. However, after a pit cycle, Crafton would come out around 9th, where he would hang out until a caution with 13 to go, which led to a big one, an overtime, and an absolute mess of a last lap. All of that helped Crafton to finish 8th, and he'd be just 1 point above the cut line in 4th. 5th round of the playoffs went really well for Matt. Then it didn't.
Well, the events unfolding here at Martinsville having a serious impact on the championship. Matt Crafton, you see his crew making a battery change.
Crafton would thankfully get back going again, but would be a whole 8 laps down, and have to make up around 20 points. But other playoff drivers would also run into problems. Brett Moffitt would be out of the race due to damage, and so would Tyler Ankrum and Austin Hill because they got involved in the big one. So things weren't looking too bad for the 88. By the 34th mark, nothing else crazy happened. So Crafton, that is. He finished 23rd, 9 points below the cutoff line, going into the second last race of the season and the elimination race to decide the final 4. Crafton would start 10th and made up some good ground and points, getting up to 3rd by lap 20. and staying there through the end of stage 1 to lap 68 when he got up to 2nd, which is where he finished for stage 2. So for those of you keeping track at home, that Crafton is now tied at the cutoff line, only needing to finish one spot better than where he was, or to have Austin Hill finish one spot worse, to secure a spot in the final 4. By 15 to go, the ball was in Matt's court, being 7 points above the cutoff line, running 6th, but no pressure from behind. And as the 15 laps clicked down, and as Crafton continued to make no mistakes, it slowly became apparent Matt Crafton would finish 6th and make the cutoff line to be one of the 4 drivers ever compete for a championship in Homestead, Miami. And that's just exactly what he did.
Stuart Friesen wins at ISM. The race, Friesen with that emphatic win and clinch. He'll be joined by Ross Chastain and Matt Crafton.
Yep, he had done it. Matt Crafton was going into the Homestead, Miami, the final 4, last race of the season, with a 57 race long winless streak. And now keep in mind too, the final 4 isn't decided by points, but where they all finish at the end of the race. So whichever championship competitor finishes in front of the rest wins the championship. So, after all this build-up, this finally brings us to the night it happened. Despite Crafton starting the worst of the 4, by the end of stage 1 he had gained nothing. He was still running the worst of the 4 in P6, but he would fire off better in stage 2, scrapping with the championship competitors of Ross Chastain, Friesen, and Moffitt for the lead of the championship. Not the lead of the race. The lead of the race was mostly being taken over by the 16 of Austin Hill, who seemed to have more speed than the other 4 trucks that were actually fighting for the championship. However, by the end of stage 2, Crafton was up to 2nd and was actually looking better than the 3 other competitors. Even in the 3rd stage, when Stuart Friesen started to challenge Crafton for the lead of the championship, Crafton stayed calm, making no mistakes and kept a good distance behind. As the 52's tires wore out, Matt was able to pull away, making a 3-second gap by lap 90. As Crafton came down for his last pit stop, his crew would execute perfectly, and with 31 to go, he'd lead his first lap to the light. That wouldn't last long though. Again, Austin Hill had the faster truck all night, and there was no beating him. By 10 to go, Crafton gained about 7 seconds to the next championship competitor of Ross Chastain. And as those laps clicked down to 9, then 8, then 7, that gap to Hill kept growing, but so was the gap to Chastain. Then 3 to go, then 2, then 1, then 0. Can you win by going winless? To Matt Crafton, yes.
It's now 3 time. Welcome back, champ.
Crafton finished with 7 top 5s, 18 top 10s, and a big old donut in the win column, but with a 1 in the point standings and a big trophy to take home. It should be mentioned, Matt Crafton isn't the only winless champion. Austin Dillon also did it, but he sort of fell off. Wait, what? What do you mean Austin Dillon won another race? What do you mean he pulled a move that would get him banned in Essex? Well, I think that speaks a lot about the state of the sport, but anyway, back on topic. It would take Crafton a global pandemic, 10 more races, and having to hold off a Christian Eckes for 20 laps to get another win, bringing his winless streak to 67 races. Which makes it even crazier that he managed to win a championship in the middle of a winless streak. However, his winless streak has gotten longer since 2020, stretching 3 full seasons, and depending on when this video is posted, it might actually be at 100. Speaking of the present, currently Crafton is in his 25th season in the Truck Series and 19th consecutive year with both Thor Motorsport Racing and Menards as his primary sponsor. This is a legit scheme that he ran in 2024, and here's a scheme he ran back in 2005. Nothing has really changed, although Crafton has gained a bit of a reputation for being a little bit of a hothead now and again.
You got to be kidding me. Together! What the
They've done for me in my career. I don't know what he's mad about. He's old man, so whatever. But just
I'm gonna fucking kill you in Homestead. You fucked with the wrong guy, motherfucker.
But I usually forget all that. all the history, the triumphs, the turmoil, the heartbreak. Because all I usually remember is that one night in 2019 at Homestead, which is why I made this video. I want people to know the story of Matt Crafton, or at least a part of it, and I would love to go in depth on every single season, but I need to make my videos shorter than an hour, so I'll leave you off with this. Whenever you hear a quote-unquote paradox, just remember that one little 88 team who didn't beat the competition, who beat the system designed for winners, who everyone counted as past their prime, who went 0 for 23. Because that little 88 team, they redefined paradox and won by going winless.